Hello, you're welcome back to another video tutorial. So in today's video, we are going to kickstart a brand new series where we will design a complete creative agency website in Figma. So we are going to start from the homepage all the way to the contact page. So by the end of this series, you have a fully polished, client-ready design that you can customize or use to land real projects. So just for you to know, this is just part 1 of a 7 weeks design series where we'll build each page step by step until the full website is complete. So if you don't want to miss any upload, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way you'll be the first to know when each new video drops. And if you would like to grab the premium Figma file with all the page and the styles already set up, the link is right below in the description. So first things first, like we always do, we are going to rename our file. So the name of the file, we're going to name it The Forge. That's like one fictional name that I want to name this project. So we're going to name it The Forge. So the next thing we're going to do is quickly set up our color styles, and then we just proceed. So I'm just going to quickly go over here and then color style. Then select on color. So the first color that we're going to bring in is our white color. Let's just bring in a white color first. So I'm going to call this FFFFF. Then click enter and make sure that it is visible here. So I'm just going to click on create. So the next thing we are going to create is the text color. So I'm going to call this text color. And then our text color is going to be 1C, 1C, 1C. And I'm going to hit enter to make sure that it reflects here. And then create style. And then we're going to actually do the next color, which is the gray text. We want to have like a particular text for our gray text. So the color code for that is 6E, 6E, 6E. And I'm going to click enter to make sure that it reflects here. And then another color we're going to bring in is the outline. So we will need to have like just like we normally do, or let's just call it stroke. Alright, so then for the stroke we are going to have E0, E0, E0. Click on enter. Okay, I think that's actually worked. Okay. The next thing that we're going to bring in now is the gray BG. We're going to be using like a gray BG for some aspect of the project. So I'm going to name this, I'm going to call this gray BG. So the color code for this is F7, F6, F4. So let's click enter on that. It's close to white, but it's not pure white. And then finally, we are going to bring in the primary color. So if you watch, this comes first, and this is a little bit going down. I think this comes next in this until we get to white. So they are just basically like a wide range of gray colors. Most times I use it in my project to just establish color hierarchy. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to use like a plugin called Foundations Color Generator. So now we're going to quickly head over here and click on material, and I'm going to rename this to primary. I don't like it being all caps, so I'm just going to change it primary. So our primary color is basically going to be FF5506. Let's click enter to make sure that reflects, and then create styles. And there, so under foundations we have that. So I'm just going to leave that here. So we just have the primary color and nothing else. So we're just going to be consistent with like one color throughout the project, so we don't have to think too much about selecting other colors. So now the next thing that we are going to do now is to bring in the frame that will host our landing page. So the home page is going to, let's go over to desktop and let's select desktop. So now that we have desktop, I'm just going to quickly rename this to home. And the next thing that we should do is to basically just set up our grid, which we always do. And I'm just going to go over to grid, and let me bring this up here. And then I'm going to change this to column. I like using the column grid a lot. And the standard for desktop, as we know it, is 12 counts for desktop. And then we have our margin at 120. We're going to be using a margin of 120 for this project, and then we're going to maintain like a gutter of 20. I hope this is fine. So I'm just going to close this and then come over here and select this and add it. So this is where we are going to add make this basically like a style. So once we hit on the plus here, and I'm just going to name this desktop grid. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to go over here. So now under the grids, the layout guide styles, you can see that we already have like our desktop grid. So if you want to edit it at any point in time, you can always come here and just select here to edit it. So now that that is done, I'm just going to come over here and quickly bring this here. So the first thing we're going to bring in is a frame that will host our hero section. So I want the height for this to be like 800. So depending on your screen size, you can choose whatever thing you want to choose. So for this, I'm just going to give it like a gray color, which is like D9. This is not going to be part of our color style because I just want to use it to check it out and see if this really works out. So I'm going to rename this to hero section before we do what we want to do. So now that I've renamed it to hero section, let me quickly select the entire desktop homepage. Let me call this homepage so that I don't get confused. So now I'm just going to preview this quickly to make sure that this fills my screen. So I want to make sure that it fills my screen. So one thing about previewing your work that I like so much is that it enables me to see what I'm doing at each and every point in time. So I would advise that anytime you're working on a project, make sure you're always previewing it, because I noticed like some beginners don't actually preview their work. They just design down to the end and then want to preview it at the end. So I just like to preview it so that I can see how it looks on a kind of like desktop interface. So you see this kind of like filled my screen. You can see the little demarcation here. So I think I love that. So I'm just going to move on. So I'm just going to use the plugin called Unsplash to bring in an image. So we're going to be using like a large image for the hero section. And let's quickly go to search. And I'm just going to try to search something like theme, because this is like a creative agency, So I'm just going to search theme. All right, I can see some good images here. I won't actually select these ones with the plus sign because they are going to come with watermark, and I'm not really seeing what I want, so I'm just going to keep scrolling. I like this, but for a creative agency, I don't know how that looks. This also is not bad, but our primary color, there's nothing like our primary color in that particular image or photo. So I want something that has like a little feel of probably like orange or maybe red. Alright, let's try using this and seeing how that looks. Alright, so I'm just going to close this and then let's quickly preview it and see how this looks. Ooh! I think I'm loving the vibe, but this is too sharp for like the hero image. For me, I feel like probably I'll need to add some overlay on it. So I'm quickly going to do that. So to add an overlay, I'm going to double click it a couple of times, and then I'm going to remove this. So this is where we are going to edit the whole overlay. So I want to add like a little gradient feel like on the top and the bottom, so that there will be like focus on the center, something like that. I don't know, it's just my eyes. Most times that's how I like to actually design stuff. So let me go back again. So what I did, I just clicked on the plus sign here, and then we have like this particular extra fill on layered on top of what we already have. So let me turn off the layout grid. Let's see if we're going to see that properly. So I'm going to select this again. Let's do that one more time. So you see, once I add that, it added like this little kind of like fill on top of this. So I'm just going to select this, and now I want to add at the top first before I come down to the bottom. So for the top, I'm just going to swap this. If you click on this one just rotates it like 90 degrees, and that's not what we want. So we just want to be able to flip it like 180 or something. So now this is it, but I want this particular gradient, the fading aspect, to be down here. So I'm just going to swap this. So now that we have the solid color at the top there, I'm just going to push this to the center. So if you want this to go like in a straight line and doesn't actually, you know, move around like this, just hold on shift and you won't be able to move it around. It will just be going like 45 degrees something. And then so I'm just going to leave it at the center here, and then check this again. Alright, it doesn't look like anything has changed. It still looks very sharp to me. So you know what I'm just going to do? I'm going to quickly try to, you know, add like, let's try 80 and see. Let's do the same for down. Let me do the same down here. Well, you know what? Let me just select this and duplicate and see how that looks. So I'm just going to duplicate it, but this time around I'm just going to come over here and swap it and see. Alright, but there's a little problem here, so we are just going to, you know what, let's not do that. Let's go from scratch. Let's add from here, and then I'll just go over here, then just like the way we did it. Don't forget the solid part is down here, so I'm just going to drag this to the center also, and then I'm just going to change this to like 100 or something. Oh, I don't know how that feels, but let's see how that looks. Alright, this doesn't look bad because we're going to be adding like the nav bar at the top here, so we want the nav bar to be very, very visible, and I want the whole concentration of the focal point to actually be centered on their hands, like the teamwork, them putting their hands together, not the faces and all that. So this place, like if you look at the line here, it's a bit brighter than the top and the bottom. So the bottom here, we are also going to be having like another text on it, so I don't want the text to be struggling with the background. That's why I'm going to add like, I added like this shadow of it's not actually a shadow though, more like an overlay, like a gradient overlay, something like that. And then that's why I added it here, so that the text could pop up, because the text are going to be white, so I want them to pop up. I want them to pop, you know. So and this part too, I want to add like a nav bar there, so I want it to also pop. I don't want the white text to struggle the background, because you can see like the background is not all white, but at the same time it's not all green. You know, the white color might not have like a good balance or in terms of contrast with the text or something, or the text and the background would have like probably good contrast. So now that we have this, for now we are going to forget about the nav bar. We're going to set up the nav bar later, because the nav bar is obviously going to be in absolute positioning. For now, let's just quickly go over to our text. So the text that we're going to be using for this, so I didn't mention, but for this tutorial we're going to be using the inter text. And so the text we're going to have is we craft. Alright, so now that we have that, I'm just going to change this to like let's change this to like 80. I just hope that's not too much. Alright, let's go over to, let me try bold, or let me try semi-bold. I think semi-bold looks cool, so I'm just going to try to reduce this, and I think this looks too big, but let me try something. Alright, so this looks a bit too large, so I'm just going to reduce this to like 60, and then reduce the entire thing. So don't forget, let's turn on our layout grid. So I'm going to go over here, since we've already made it a style desktop grid. So now we need to follow the grid. So this is like 53. We need to make sure that the distance from down here. So if you're wondering how I'm able to actually get the distance, I'm holding the Alt key on my keyboard while hovering on the hero section to be able to see the distance. You see where my mouse is, so just hold on to Alt on your keyboard and place it anywhere around the hero to be able to see it. So now this is 120, and below here we want to have like something like 80, or let's see. Let's see how it looks here. All right, this doesn't look bad. 80. I think 80 looks okay. But I think we should just make this and maybe let's reduce this to 60 and see. Let me see how 60 looks. Okay, 60 doesn't look bad also. And I'm just going to work with this. Hopefully I didn't make any errors with the text. So the next thing we are going to create now is the buttons that we're going to be using for this project. So let me quickly add like a button that we're going to use. So for the button, I'm just going to put something like book a call. So it's going to be on all caps, book or call. So now that we have this, and I'm just going to keep this at 16 because it's a button, no, it's not a header. So now that we have it at 16, I'm just going to hold Shift A to apply auto layout to it, and then I'm going to call this CTA, and then I'm going to add our primary color to it as the fill. So where's our primary color? So the 500 is more like the one with the value of 500 is like the actual color. So now that we have this, and I'm just going to change the overall corner just like 100. So there's one thing I like doing whenever I'm creating my buttons. I don't know if you follow my tutorial, you know. There's a formula I normally use for my buttons. The left and the right side is going to be twice the size of the top and bottom. So what do I mean? So if the top and bottom padding, so we're going to use padding to actually make this button look legit. So the top and bottom is going to be like 12, and then the sides are going to be like 24. That's 2 times 12, which is like 24. So this is, we have gotten our button. So this is how the button is going to look. So since we already have this our button, we are going to make different variations of this button so that we don't have to come back here and always edit this button. So to do that, I'm just going to quickly use the plugin called Huge Icons Library. So now I'm going to quickly head over here and change, like, I'm going to call this right, and I'm going to add like a, you know what, let's quickly move this aside. So I'm going to put this in a little box, and I'm going to call these buttons, and then push this top here. So I'm going to make this 20, and then close this. Yeah. So now that we have it at buttons, I'm going to just duplicate this and then call these icons. Then I'm going to remove this. I don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to. So all the icons that we're going to be using for this project is going to be inside of here. So I'm going to add this, and then. So this is going to be 2020, and I'm going to duplicate this and give it a distance of like 20 from this also, and then again. Alright, so now we're going to change this to this in case we need that also. So I'm going to give like different variations of this particular, you know, arrow. So the next one will be like, let's use left in case we need like a left arrow button. So I'm just going to use this, and then the next one is going to be this. Alright, so now that we have all this, I'm just going to turn this off, and I'm going to select all of this and make them a component. Okay, I didn't hold down shift, so I'm just going to select everything and click on this little drop down arrow here, and then create multiple components. So now I'm just going to select this, copy this, and paste inside of here. Alright, so I think we'll need to adjust this. So I'm going to duplicate this and then move this to the other side, and probably like collect this one and paste to replace. Alright, so I'm going to change everything inside of here to white. So we're going to use all the colors that we created. I don't want us using any color that is not. So now that we have this, let me see the let's probably leave it at 8. That's the gap inside of the buttons. So now I'm quickly going to make this like a component. And then before I proceed, I'm just going to change this, add the component property to this. I'm going to change this to swap icon, and then I'm going to create property of, let's name this left icon. Let's just name this right icon, and I'm going to create that, and then I'm going to name this left icon. Create property so that we can easily swap those icons in case we want to make use of it. Left icon. Okay, I think there's one thing I didn't do, which I will do for this also. So I want to actually be able to turn the icons off or turn it on. So I'm going to actually add a component property for the appearance also, and I'm going to call this show left icon. And then we are also going to add like component property for this. So this is also going to be like show right icon. So this is going to be show right icon. So now that we have that, one last thing is that we're going to add a component property to be able to edit this one also. So we're going to add a component property to this. So this is just going to be text. So this is just going to be text. So why I'm doing all that is because let's bring out this. If I hold Alt and duplicate this particular, so you see the whole arrangement now. Now I can actually turn off the left icon or turn it on, or turn off the right icon. So that's why we did all that. So I'm just going to select this and quickly arrange that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring this up here. So this is like show left icon, and then we're going to have like the left icon, then show, then I'm going to move the show to right icon, and then have it, then we have the text at the bottom here. So I'm just going to delete this, and then we're going to have like another variations of this particular icon, which the button rather. So we're going to add like a variant. So the variant is just more of like an outline button. So this is going to be all black, so I'm just going to change this to, in fact we don't need any of this, so I'm just going to, you know what, before we move, let's change everything white here to black, to text color, and then let's remove our fill color. But before removing the fill color, let's add stroke. So we're going to add like a stroke, and then we're going to remove the fill color. So now this is what we currently have. So I'm just going to make this look okay. So this is what we currently have. So we can manipulate the button in whatever way we want it. We want to manipulate it. So now that I've done that, the next thing I'm just going to quickly do is to, although I don't know if we're going to have any other variations, but I'm just going to move on with this. So now we will have like two buttons here. So we need like a button here. So I'm just going to select this and paste this, and it went this way. So I'm just going to drag it and push it down here, and then duplicate it. And then I would like this to have like a white fill. So this particular button here, we have like a white fill. So I'm just going to add a white fill to it. So when I come over here now, so I'm now going to change this particular, so this is now going to be the variant 2. Let's rename this quickly before we move on. So this is going to be like the primary button, and we're going to change this to state, and then I'm going to select this also and change this to outline. So now that we have this, I'm just going to quickly come here. So as you can see here now, we have like the outline and we have the primary button. So I'm just going to select both of them, and then add like auto layout to both of them, and call these buttons. So now that we have this at buttons, for this we don't actually need the left icon, so I'm just going to remove it. And then for this, we're going to call this browse work. Yeah, so we're going to turn off the both icons. I don't need both icons here. So you see how easy for us how easy it is to manipulate these buttons, because we made them a component. So I want it to look like this, and then I'm going to select this and this and add auto layout to both of them, so that this can come down here. So if you look at this now, this is how it looks. All right, this is how it looks. Although I would want to move it a bit to the top so it comes up a bit. So we are going to finally go still go back to 80. So this is going to be 80, and I'm going to select this and change this to no, let me just change it to bold instead, and let's see how that looks. I think bold looks better. We craft experiences that inspire and convert. You can go as far as probably adding a subtext, but for this I'm not going to add a subtext, but you can add a subtext if you would want to. So this is more like a button too. So this is what we currently have, nothing else. So in case they want to book a call or browse works. So now that we have this, I'm just going to go back. But there's something I noticed about these buttons. I would like them to be semi-bold or something. I don't know what I added, but I think they are not solid enough. Okay, they're already semi-bold. Let's use bold. Hopefully it's not appearing too much. I think it's okay. I think I love the way bold looks. So now that we are done with this, we're just going to move to the next section. So I'm just going to make sure that everything here is renamed properly. So we are going to call this header plus buttons. So now that we have this and then we have the buttons, I think we are done with this. So now I'm just going to select this and then push this a bit so that we can accommodate the next section. So the next section is going to be the About Us section. So I'm just going to quickly create that. So let's create the About Us section and let's close the gap between this. So make sure you hold Alt to see what you're doing. So I'm just going to stretch this now that we are done with this. So the About Us section, we are just going to quickly bring in like a little box here. Let's say the box is just going to be like 24, and then we're going to give it like our primary color. And then this will be like the section header, more like the section header. So we're going to name this About Us. So this is going to be the About Us section, 16 bold, not bad. So I'm just going to select both of them and add auto layout to it, and the gap is going to be 20, and then let's see how that works. Well, let's change the text to like 24. Hopefully that's not too big. I think it's too big, so I think you should use like 16. So I'm going to use like 16 here also. Alright. So I'm just going to come over here. Since we already have this set now, although I want to make this a component so bad, but you know what? Let's make it a component. Let's create another big box here for orders. So I'm just going to close this and just call this orders. So I'm just going to create like a big box, and then I'm going to move this inside here because I want to make this a component so that I can be able to edit it easily. And then I will have like a subtext on that here. So the subtext is just going to be like maybe section details or something. Section details or section description, short description. Alright, so I want to have like a short description here, and for this I'm just going to leave this at 40. This is going to be like 40, text is going to be 40, and we're going to leave this at I think semi-bold looks okay. And then let's make sure we are not using all blacks, please. Let's make sure we are using our gray text. So I'm going to select this and this, and then select both of them, add auto layout to it. The gap should be like maybe 12 looks okay. So we are going to call this this is okay, so we are going to call this like indicator plus section header plus title. Let's just call it title, and then we're going to call everything section header. section title. No, yeah, I think section title makes sense. So now I'm going to make it a component, and then we're going to do some edits to this. So for this, this should be editable. So I'm going to add a component property to this and call this title. Let me call this section title, so I can easily edit it. Hope I spelled that very well. So this also, we're going to call it like short description also, just the same name. Oh, let's call it description. No need to do anything too much. I think description is fine. I don't know if I spelled that correctly. All right, so now that we have this, we should be able to also turn this off. That's the more reason I wanted to create this component. So yeah, so show description true or false. So I'm just going to select this, and then I'm now going to select the whole thing and come here and paste to replace. So now that we have paste to replace, I didn't rename this to about us, so I'm just going to quickly rename it to about us. And then this is going to be hero section. So now that we have this as hero section, so I'm just going to move this to the top and then leave this here about us. And now, so one thing we don't need the short description, so I'm just going to turn off the short description quickly, and then we're going to edit our about us. Okay, about us looks good. About us looks good. So the next thing we're going to do is quickly bring in like a short text that we're going to impute on this. So to do that, I'm just going to, I already drafted the text somewhere, so I'm just going to quickly bring it in. So under the about us, this is what we have on the home page. So I'm just going to copy that and select everything, and then come back here and then open this, select this. So this is what we are going to add. So I'm going to clear that and then try to reduce this as much as possible. So maybe let's just do 400, then we'll then adjust it. Okay, yeah. So now that we have this, I'm going to make sure that it's following our grid before I start adjusting it. So although we are going to add auto layout to the entire section very soon, I think this is okay. So I'm just going to zoom properly so that I'll make sure that it's hitting the line. Yeah, that's the importance of grid, creating your grid. Let's see if 24 works. Let's see how 24 looks here. Okay, I don't know, let me see if this is where we used something. Alright, so I think this works. I don't know if it's too much. We're going to check that shortly. If it's too much, the gap is too much. Okay, I think this fits perfectly. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to try to see how that looks. Let's see how that looks. It still kind of like look good, but it doesn't look like it has any presence here. Well, let's change it to like 28. And I think the bold is too much. I don't really like the fact that we have bold there. But like medium should look okay, please. Now that we have this, I'm just going to copy this button now, one of these buttons, and come over here and paste it. So this is if they want to read more about the about us section. Sorry, they want to read more, that's go over to the about us page, they can click on this. So I'm just going to change this to read more. So now that I've changed this to read more, I'm just going to select this and this, add auto layout to it, and probably like the distance should be like 40 or something, not too much. So I'm just going to select this. I think this looks okay. So I'm just going to make sure that this is working with the grid. And then finally, no need to start adjusting the padding or all that, but for the top and bottom, what we want is 60, and the sides are obviously going to be 120 because we are trying to follow our grid. So I'm just going to select the whole about us section and add auto layout to it. So now that I've added auto layout to it, I'm going to change the top and bottom padding to 60, and then the left and right still remains 120. So now with this, you can see that our gap is automatically, so that it can actually stretch. So we don't need to actually add anything to that. So I'm just going to go over and check how that looks. So this is how it looks. Obviously it looks good. So I'm just going to one last thing, paragraph plus button. So now that we have that, I think we are done with the about us section. So the next section that we're going to have like is the logos, which is more like the logos and partners and trusted by and all those. So I'm just going to copy this, or you know what, let me just create like the whole section first before we do any other thing. So I'm just going to push this and make sure this clips. Or before we continue, let me just add auto layout to the entire home page. So if I add auto layout to the entire home page, so everything will just, you know, clip. So now that I've added that, okay, I noticed that this new frame is on, you know, we added like a frame just now, but now we can't see the frame because it's on absolute positioning. Anytime you see this symbol on any of your layouts, that means it's on absolute positioning. So I'm going to remove it from absolute positioning by just coming over here and clicking this. So now it's no longer on absolute positioning. So we're going to change this to trusted by. So now before we continue, we're just going to go over to the Figma community to bring in some logos that we're going to be using for this particular section. So let's quickly do that. So I like the way this looks, so I'm just going to go over to the Figma community real soon. So once you, if you are using the Figma app, just click on this home button here. So once you click on this home icon here, then select community. Once you select community, you can come over here and search. So I used to use this like normal logos. I think the name is like 120 free placeholder or something. Let me see. Hopefully I get it. Okay, let me try free placeholder logo. Hopefully it's what it is. So alright, I think it's this. Okay, this is 180. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to, thanks to Jordan, we are able to actually complete, you know, this entire tutorial. So I'm just going to put in like most of this. Alright, so I'm just going to open the Figma file so that we can actually just use, for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to be using this placeholder logos. So I'm going to quickly zoom into this and see if, oh, okay, where can I find the logos now? So I want them all in black and white, so I'm just going to select the black and white logos. So I like this, and this looks okay. I don't want anything that will stress me while trying to edit it, so I'm just going to keep selecting the ones that are all black. So how many have we selected so far? So I've selected 1, 2, and this is like 3, and this is 4, this is 5, and this is 6, this is 7, and this is 8, this is 9, and this is 10, 11, 12. So I don't know if I'm going to use all of them, but I'm just going to copy all of this. I'm just going to copy all of this and go over to my Figma file, and I'm going to create a section for that also. So I'm just going to quickly, well, let me paste it first, then try to, you know, organize everything. I guess I brought in too much logos. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to, you know, try to reduce this. So I'm going to use this to make it like 24. I think we just need the height to be like 24 each. So let's center this and let's try to make the height 24. And same here, I'm just going to select all this, then center it properly, then make the height 24 so we can be able to edit it. So I'm just going to do the same for this, center it properly, and then 24. So now that we've gotten this, I'm just going to go over here and select all this, and then just going to align this properly, and then make sure, I don't know, we'll use 44 here, and let's use 44 at the top, let's use 40 at the top. Then I can now move all this together also. So for this, we're just going to use a gap of like 80 to give it enough breathing space. So for the gap between them, let me see where the gap is. So I'm going to edit the gap. I'm going to leave the gap at like 40 so it can stretch. And same here, let me just bring this up here. You know what, I'm just going to fix that later with auto layouts. Okay, that won't enter there, so I'm just going to select this, select this, select this, select this, select this, and select this. Then we're going to give it like a gap of 40 and then align it properly. So let's make sure it's still maintaining 80. Now we can now come down here and do the same for this. So I'm going to select everything, align it properly, and then the gap should be like 40 as well. So I'm just going to make sure that this is okay. This is 20. Okay, this looks great. So now that we have this, I might just push it up here. Hopefully we don't need to add any other thing inside of here. So now that we have this, and I'm just going to create like a little, so let's bring this inside of here first. So I'm just going to paste this inside here, and then we're going to call this trusted by. So this is 60 and 120 is following our grid line. So what we want to do here is just to basically like add a little motion here. So to add that little motion, I'm just going to kind of like bring some kind of box where our logos will fit in. So I'm going to make it a component, but before that, let me select one of these and paste it inside of here. So for this, I'm just going to change the field to like the gray BG, which is like the clear background. So if I go over here, I should be able to see it here. Alright, so you can see that there's like a gray background here. We don't want it to be too visible, you know. And then I'm going to change this to like 8, the corner radius to like 8. Let me see if that corner radius show. Okay, you can see like it's a bit gray here, close to the white. So that's the whole plan. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to call this logo. And I'm going to paste it inside of here and center it properly. And right now, I'm just going to add auto layout to it, and then the top and bottom should just be like maybe 16 or something. Top and bottom should be 16. Let me see how that looks. All right, this looks okay. So now that we have this, I'm just going to make this a component. So I'm just going to, you know, add this. So now that we have this, I'm just going to add auto layout to this so that I can duplicate quickly, so we don't have to waste much time doing this. So yep, so we just need 6 of this, and I'm going to add a gap of 20. I don't know why that is not actually following the whole thing. So we need to make sure that this clips very well, and this is like 183. So we're going to select everything. We're going to select all of this and change it to 183. 183. Hopefully everything clips properly. So the next thing we're going to do now is to, now that we have this, I'm going to call these logos. Alright, so I want us to actually add like this kind of like carousel kind of like vibe, where it will just be scrolling, or more like an infinite scroll. Yes, that's the right word, an infinite scroll, where it will just be scrolling. There will be like some part of the logo scrolling at the top and some other part scrolling at the bottom, you know, to just add a little excitement to the whole project, so we don't have everything looking static. Okay, let me see if that works. And you know what, since we already have this, I'm just going to go over here now and try swapping out all these logos. So I'm just going to try to bring in some logos. So let's bring it out here and try to do that. So now that we have it up here, let me remove all this from being a component and then make it a component again. So I'm going to detach instance and then create multiple components. On this project, so their main component can be here. So for this, where did I get this from? I'm just going to come over here and paste to replace. And this is more like the head, so I'm just going to bring this out and add one more. I don't know, let me check it one more time if it worked. Okay, it actually worked. Alright, it worked. So let's quickly swap that quickly. Let's swap. So we're going to select the second logo. There's the third logo. So the fourth one. And then we're just going to make it get like 12. And let's make sure that this is centered properly. I don't want anything to look, one-sided. Alright, so I'm just going to duplicate this, and see how far we can go. So now I'm going to continue. So the next is the light box, and the next one is this, and the next one is this, and the next one is this. So the next one looks like it's not getting finished. We still have like 2 more. I don't know if we can add all of this, but let's see. Although we're still going to crop this, everything is not obviously going to show, but let me just try to add everything. We just need like 12, so that there's this effect I want to actually achieve, so we can achieve that. So now that we have this, we just want 12 to be visible. So now we have the logos, we already have the logos, and then we now have like this, all the logos inside. So I'm going to now create like another frame that will now host the animation. So we're going to call this frame infinite scroll. So now that we've called it infinite scroll, I'm just going to push this inside of here. And note, please don't add auto layout to this particular frame. Try not to add auto layout to it. No, don't even add auto layout. Just don't add auto layout to it. If you add auto layout to it, it won't work. So I'm just going to leave this at maybe like height of, I don't know the height of, let me see the height of this. The height is like 56. So we're going to just leave the height of the infinite scroll frame to 60. So now that we've left it at 60, I'm just going to try to reduce this. So we just want 6 of this to show. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to copy this, although I'm coming back to actually make that a component. So I'm just going to duplicate this, paste to replace, and let me see if that fit in. So this is what we want. I'm just going to push this. You know what, let me just add auto layout to this. Yeah, so this is what I want. Okay, I'm just going to change this to fill. Oh no, we don't want that as fill at all. So I'm going to change this to 1200 or so. Yeah, 1200 and see. Alright, so this is the correct size that we want. So I'm just going to copy this. And come back here and paste it here. So we want to now create the infinite scroll interaction. So I'm just going to paste to replace because I'm copying from there. I want it to be like 1200 spacing. Yeah, so this is what I want. And now that we have this, what I'm now going to do is to make this a component now. So now that we've made it a component, the next thing I'm going to do is add like a variant, and then add one more variant. So now why did I add like multiple variants? So we want it to scroll, right? So the first state, let's change this to state. So this is like start. So this is where if I select this logo now, once I push it, so if let's say it's not at the end, now let me zoom in. So once I push it here, this is like start positioning. So this is when it's like aligned to the left, where it starts from here. So this second state is like the mid state, where it's like at the center. So I'm just going to, let me select the logos. So I'm just going to center it like this. So this is at the mid stage, at the middle stage, and this is like at the final stage. Make sure you're selecting the logos, not the frames, not the frame that is hosting the logo. So this is now when it's like at the ending. So you see this is like at the ending. You You see there's no other logo at the end. So we have like 3 states: when it's just starting, when it's at the middle, and when it's at the ending. So that way we can have, you might want to omit the middle one, but I like to do it this way for like easy transitioning, so everything is not too fast. So I'm just going to call this start, and I'm going to call this middle, and then I'm going to call this end. Now, so now that we have this, I'm just going to quickly start the prototype. So we are going to go over to the prototype menu to now add this. So what did I do here? I just, let me go back. So once you just select anything, once you're on the prototype menu, if this is your first time to prototype, just hover on the center of any of the frame that you want to prototype. And note, you can only prototype frames. I've not tried prototyping rectangles if I don't think shapes are possible to prototype. Probably need to be inside of like a frame. So once you see this plus sign, you just click on it and hold it and move to the next frame that you want to connect it to. So now we want to do after delay, because we want it to move on its own without us interfering with it. So I'm just going to change this to after delay, and I don't want any delay. I just want like 1 second delay or something. And then I'm going to change this to smart animate, and I'm going to change this to instead of ease out, I'm going to change it to linear, and then I'm going to change this to like 6,000. That's 6,000 milliseconds. So now that we have that, I'm going to do the same for this also, and I'm going to change this to after delay, and then I'm going to change this. So it's already, the setting has already been established. So it's just that I'm going to change this one to 1 milliseconds, and then so this one I'm just going to drag it back to the top, and this one is just going to be instant. So I'm going to change this to after delay, and then this one is just going to be like 1 sec, and I'm just going to change this to instant. So now that we have this, I'm just going to go outside, going back to design panel, select this and copy. So once I copy this, I'm just going to go over here and paste it and see how that works. So now that I paste it, let's see if it's working. Hopefully I didn't make any mistake while creating it. Alright, you see how slow this is. If you want it to be very, very slow, this is exactly what we want to actually accomplish. So you see how the way it's going smoothly. This is what we want. So now that we've gotten this part, we want to have like the inverse of this particular scroll animation. So instead of it going from the right to the left, we want it to go from the left to the right. So we are going to now duplicate this. We're going to create another version of this. So I'm going to duplicate this. If you look at now, you now see that we have like two stuff going on, while I'm just going to select both of them and add auto layout to it, and make sure that the gap between them is like 20, and then I'm going to change this to infinite scroll, or let's just call it scroll animation, so it doesn't have the same name with what we already have at the bottom. So but if you notice now, both of them will be going at the same rate. I don't know why it's not moving right now. Probably why it's not working is because we added auto layout to it. Let's remove the auto layout. See, okay, it's not still working. Probably it's my network or something. Let's not waste so much time on that. So now to create the inverse of this, let's call it let's duplicate this, and then I'm going to call this the inverse. So this one is going to go like in opposite direction. So now for it to go in opposite direction, you know this one, the logo inside of the start here, you know what, let's arrange this. Let me take this to the top, and then the middle should come next, and then the end should be at the final. Let me do the same for here also. So this is middle, the middle should come here. So we are editing the inverse, don't forget, we are editing the inverse. So I'm going to come to the start. So instead of, you see that it has like more space at the end of this, instead of having it go from here to the other side, so I'm just going to change the direction. This one is aligned to the left, but now I want it to be aligned to the right, and then this one and the logos here should be aligned. Oh, let me scroll this, let me go back. So the logos here should now be aligned to the left. So you see this one is aligned to the left, while this one is aligned to the right. So basically that's how to make it inverse. So now I'm going to copy this. I'm now going to copy this and I'll paste it beneath here now. So I'm just going to paste to replace. So you see now, this is the last logo that we added, and this is like the first logo that we added. So if I check it out, I don't know why it's not still playing. Let's hope that it starts working very soon. Alright, so you know what, I'm just going to select both of them and remove them from the frame and see if that's the issue. But if that's not the issue, obviously I'm going to add them back inside of a frame. So I think that's not the issue. So I'm just going to add like a frame, and then give it like a gap of 20, and then call this scroll animation. So now that we have that, I think we are done with this trusted by section. We're going to just quickly move down to the next section. So for the next section, is going to be called benefits. So this is going to be the benefits section. So I'm just going to call this benefits. Or you can just edit it from here. But for this one, we're going to have like some sort of description here. So for the description, we're going to call this your vision, scaled for growth. Alright, so since it's a little, alright, so this is what we're going to change it to. We're going to change it to like fill, so that it can easily stretch. So I'm going to delete this because we don't need it, but I'm going to still need this at fill. Then I'm going to drag it to the bottom and change this to benefits. So now that we have this, so we are going to start with the first thing that we're going to add. Wow, so this is already working. So we're just going to continue with the benefits. This is already working perfectly. So now to continue, I'm just going to create like a frame here. So this frame is just going to contain like 3 of this, and I'm going to add like an outline, or probably let's call it stroke here. And let me view that and make sure that it's already visible. And then I'm going to give it like a corner radius of 12, and let's see how that looks. Alright, 12 looks okay. And then I'm going to add like another frame, but this time around I don't want to add like a frame. Let's remove any auto layer from here. I don't want an auto layer to be on this place right now. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to bring in like a rectangle. Then why did that just happen? Let me delete that and try that again. So I'm just going to bring in like a rectangle, and then we're going to have like a frame that is going to fit in here. So I duplicated this frame basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select, although this I want like 2 frames to be here, so I'm just going to put this here and then close the gap, and then I'm just going to reduce this. Probably the height of this, let's just make it like 200. So once I make this 200, so I'll have to duplicate this also. So I'm just going to give it a gap of 20 because you know our gutter is 20. So I'm going to add auto layout to this, and then this is like a height of 420. So I'm going to make these two have the same height of like 420. Alright, so now we're going to select the 3 frames and add auto layout to it, and make sure these two has like a corner radius of 12. So now that we have this, let me quickly preview that. Okay, I think this looks okay. I don't know, this looks a bit too fast. Let's try to slow this down before we continue. So I'm just going to go over to this place and just quickly change this like let's go over to delay and let me change this to like 8,000, or let's change this to like 10,000. Let's see if that's possible. Okay, 10,000 is possible, so I'm just going to click on this and also change this to like 10,000. come back here, change this to like 10,000 also, and come back here and change this to like 10,000 also. Then let's view that and see if it slows down. All right, so now it has slowed down. You see the way it's actually moving now. It's quite slower than before. So now that we have this, I'm just going to adjust the frame a bit. Let me come back to the benefits. All right, so this is what we want. So I'm just going to quickly start adding one or two things that we're going to be adding here. So let me add auto layout to this frame. The name of the frame is benefit. This is section header, and we're going to call this content. So let me call this content quickly. Let me quickly rename all the frames. So this will be like rapid turnaround, and this will be like image, and this will be stats. All right, so we're just going to quickly, after the benefit section, we are going to end this particular part 1, and then we're going to continue from part 2 to end the entire thing. I don't want the videos to be too long, so we're going to be fast with everything that we are doing. So for this, I'm just going to quickly use Unsplash to bring in an image. So I'm just going to search theme and see if I can actually see what I'm looking for. I would have used this, but I think but this doesn't have like much of our colors. You know, I like the colors that we have here, so I'm just going to use this and see. Alright, I think this looks okay. Let me try to preview that and see how it looks. Alright, this doesn't look bad actually. So I guess this looks good. So we're just going to move ahead with other sections. So we have to be fast right now because we are already behind schedule. Because I wanted this video to end like in 1 hour time. Hopefully we get to work with time the following videos. So we're going to change this to semi-bold, and I'm going to change this. Make sure that this is text color. Then we're going to use like 20 top, 20 bottom. Let me change this to like medium, and then I'm going to duplicate this and change this to 98%. And this one I'm going to change this to probably like 40 and see how that looks. I think 40 doesn't look bad, so I'm just going to push this down here and change this from lead to loyal customer. We design. Damn, I don't see. I can't see what I'm typing, but let me just quickly type it out. So I'm just going to reduce this and change this to like 14, and then apply auto layout to everything. Alright, so we want the top and bottom to be 20 and the sides also to be 20. So this and this should be quite closer than the other one. So I'm just going to leave this at 20, or let me leave this at 12, and this remains 20. Or can leave this at 40, and this will now be, this one will be our primary color. So I'm just going to change this to our primary color and see how that looks. And probably we can just try our greatest here and see how that looks. Let me reduce this one to 12 and see. Alright, it doesn't look bad, but I think we should just leave it at our test color. I think the green color looks better. So since I have this already, I'm just going to edit this. I'm just going to change this to client satisfaction, and then this one will just be like stats All right, so since we already have this, I think this is ready. So we are going to work with the next one now. So the next one now is almost the same thing, so I'm just going to duplicate. So what I did is that I hit Ctrl C to copy, and then Ctrl Shift arrow or Command Shift arrow, depending on what you have to do to paste to replace here. So I'm now going to change this and change the text inside trusted worldwide, and this is going to be building creative solution. For clients in 20 plus countries. All right, so I just hope I didn't make any mistakes. So for this, we're not going to have this. Instead, we're going to have like some avatars here. So I'm just going to change this. So this is going to be 40. Let me clip this. All right, so this is going to be 40. So I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm going to duplicate this, select this and this, and then change the alignment to horizontal alignment. So I'm just going to change this to like -12 and see how that looks. Then I'm going to hit enter to select to select the two rectangles, and then add like a white stroke around it, and it should be like 2. And then I'm going to duplicate it into 5 places. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 places. So I'm going to select everything by clicking on enter, and then I'll use content rail to add avatars or headshots. Alright, so I'm not going to mind too much what we are adding. I'm just going to leave it at this. So this is that for that. So I'm just going to select this, and change the height to fill, and then the width is already at fill, which is already good. So now that we already have this, I think this is looking good. Although this is not actually covering the entire thing, so I'm just going to stretch this, change the height to fill. Alright, so this is what we currently have, and let's make sure that it follows. The gap is correct. So now that we have this, let me quickly check that and make sure that we are safe and all the areas are kind of like covered. So now we are going to work on the final one, which is this particular frame. So now I'm just going to add like create like some sort of frame. So then we're going to add like an image here. Then the image is just going to, let's lock the aspect ratio so that we have like 40 up and down, and I'm going to add like the stroke, add some stroke, and add a few color of white also. And then this time around I'm just going to give like a corner radius of like 8, and then I'm going to add like brand identity. So this is going to be 16, and then finally I'm going to add completed, and this is going to be 12. And then I'm going to hold Shift A to add auto layout to this, and then the top and bottom should just be like 8, and this should be like 16, or this will be like 4, and this will be like 8. And then I'm just going to go over to the fill and add like a grain fill to this. So let's see if this works. And then I'm going to change the fill for this also. This would be like a darker green. Alright, so now that we have this, I'm just going to come over here and add a corner radius of like 100, and then select everything, select the main frame, which is like card. I'm just going to call this cards, and then I'm going to call this status or something like that. And then this will just be like image, and then I'm just going to select this and then add auto layout to it, and then select this and add auto layout to it, and change it to like 12. So this will be 12, and the other side will just be like auto. So anytime I adjust, this is going to follow this also. So from the top here, we're just going to have 40 from the top, and try as much as possible to have like 20 at both sides. So I'm just going to -3, which is going to be like 6, and see if that works. So we want 20 in both sides and then 40 at the top. So now that we have this, I'm just going to quickly add like shadow to this, and probably like change this to like 12, and then this should be like 40 or something. Change this to 8. I think 12, it looks okay. And then we're going to change this to like 12. And let me see if I can change this to like 36 or something. Yeah. So now that we have this, I'm just going to push this outside here and make it a component so that I can be able to edit it in case I want to make multiple versions of it, which I'll make multiple versions of it. So I think there's something I didn't do. I'm just going to add like a correct padding to this. So both sides should be like 16. Then if the top, then the top and bottom should just be like 8. Well, I think that's not working. So this should be 12 and this should be 24. I think this looks better. Or this should just be at maybe 16 or something. I think this looks okay. Let me view that. Although the shadow looks too much, so I'm just going to try and adjust that. So let me adjust that from here. So let's change this to maybe like 24, and keep looking at this to make sure that it's working. Let's see 8, and this maybe can even be 12. Just to reduce to 8. Let me just keep trying it until I get what I want. Alright, so now that we have this, I'm just going to select this. Then duplicate. And then I'm just going to edit this a bit. And then select this also. And do this also. So let's see how that looks. Although it looks too close to the end, so I'm just going to try and reduce it. Let's see what's the nearest whole number there. So let's just make it like 340 and see the width 340. I'm just going to select everything, center it properly. So I'm going to center this, and finally center this. So now let's quickly put in the text, then we'll now edit the card. So I'm going to call this like rapid turn around. And this is going to be like 24, and I'm going to leave it at semi-bold. Make sure that it's 20 from the right. And then I'm going to push this. Or you know what? Let's just let's make use of this. I'm just going to make use of this. I'm just going to copy this and then select this and paste to replace with the shortcut, and then cut this out and paste to replace. So now that we have this, I'm still going to add like auto layout to the entire frame, but for now I'm just going to try as much as possible to edit this like this. So for this, we're going to call entire experience rapid delivery with precision and uncompromised quality. So now that we have this, I'm just going to change this to fill, and then finally I'm just going to come over here and bring in this button and paste it here. So this button is just going to be at the bottom here, Just make sure 20 should be 20 and it should be 20. Then this one will go to the top a bit. Alright, so and all these two will maybe go to the top a bit. So let's change this to 24. I think this is looking too big, so I'm just going to change it to like 24. And let me see how this looks now. I think 24 looks too small, so I'm going to change it to like 32 and see. I think 32 looks okay. I don't want it to be too close to the caption, that's why I'm editing this actually. Now it's looking too close, so let me try editing this. Let's take it back to 40. I don't know why. Alright, so and then I'm just going to do this. So I think this is what I want. So for now I'm just going to edit this. So this is going to change to websites redesign. This is going to be wireframe design. So we're going to use content reel to add like some sort of like avatar to this. So I'm going to quickly go back to images so that I can select the right images for this. So I'm just going to select all three and then go back to avatar and then probably select photos. Alright, I think this is already okay. Although I don't like the fact that this one doesn't have an image, so I'm just going to go back to content reels one more time and then go back to images and go back, select photos, apply. Alright, I think this looks okay. So now finally, before we continue, I'm just going to make sure that this is following the padding. So I'm just going to add 5 to this, so it's going to be 3, 4, 6, so that it's 20 on both sides. Alright, let's quickly preview that and see how this looks. Alright, so now that we have this, one last thing we're going to do before we call it a day is to quickly edit, add the nav bar, so that at least you have like one part of the project completed already. So this is what we have so far, and now we're just going to quickly add like the navigation bar at the top. So I'm just going to push these cards over here. And let's make sure that everything inside of this is named. So I'm going to call this image plus service, and then this is status. So I think we are done with that. Alright, so now that we have this, I think this is what we've done so far. Let me quickly add the nav bar before we go. So I'm going to name this nav bar, then I'm going to push it, or I'm just going to hit Ctrl X and then paste this inside of this. So now if you notice, it went down here because of the auto layout that we added to the home page. As you can see, this icon here, it means like there is like an auto layer attached to the home page. That's why you can see that the nav bar went down here. So we're going to change this to absolute position and push this to the top, and as you can see, it's at the top now. So I'm going to quickly remove this, or let's just change this to like 20 so that we can see what we are doing. And I'm going to quickly, so for this project we don't really have like a logo. I'm just going to use like a wordmark logo, which is like the Forge. So that's our brand logo. So I'm going to change this to like 24, then make this bold. Then this should be like 80. I want the height of the navigation bar to be like 80. So I'm going to center this correctly and make sure that this is 120 from the left. So now that we've done this, the next thing we're going to do, let's see how that looks. Alright, this is how it looks. So the next thing that we're going to do, I'm just going to come here and add like a little home. So for the home, I'm just going to change this to home. Although there's no need to add home since we already have, like, we can click on the logo, but let's just keep it there. And I'm going to change this to like 16, and we're going to change this to not regular. Let me leave it at semi bold and see how that looks. Then I'm going to duplicate it, give it like add auto layout to it. So I'm going to select this and this, add auto layout to it. Then the gap should be like 40. And the next thing that we're going to do is to rename this to about, then duplicate 2 more times and change this to works. Then finally this would be blog. So we are not going to add auto layout to this. And now that we are done with this, the final thing that we need to now add is like the call to action, which is like contact us. So I'm just going to copy this as we already have this here and paste inside of here, and then push this to the right, center it properly and make sure that it's fully in our margin. Then we're going to change this to contact us. And then I'm going to center it properly. Let's see how that looks. So now that we have this, I'm just going to remove the fill. So this is how it looks. So now this is what we have currently. We are going to stop here because the video is already getting too long. So in the next video we are going to continue. So we are going to be doing one video at a time until we complete the entire website. So bye for now, see you in the next video.